Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing symmetrical or asymmetrical. I clearly added the question, the or part there to this question. And I'm imagining another phenomenal puzzle from Will Power, which is, I guess, all about symmetry or asymmetry. Something that I've been obsessing with recently, where I keep looking at puzzles and wondering if they are symmetrical. Maybe Will is doing the same as he's actually constructing it. Now, we've got Sleuth there in, yet again, another house of mirrors. And I'll tell you, if you're in a house of mirrors where the mirror is not reflecting you, get out of there for sure. That's definitely not the place to be. Right, let's take a look at the puzzle. So, symmetrically asymmetrical. I didn't even get the name right. We have, clearly, I say clearly, just actually verifying that. Symmetrical kind of lines, red lines, blue lines. And I'm going to say KROPKI dots and gray squares. And then asymmetrical digits. Yeah. So we'll figure out what all that means as we take a look at the rules. We have normal Sudoku rules apply, so that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, every 3x3 box, no repeats of course. We have Dutch whispers, so numbers on the red lines are at least 4 apart from their neighbor on the line. So if we take this 7 for example, that's a terrible example. Let's take this cell here for example. If that was a 2, these two cells would have to be 4 or more apart. That could be 4 or more, could be 6, could be 7, could be 8, could be 9. I guess with 8 and 7 here, looking at this cell, that is probably limited to 6 or 9. Now, unlike German whispers, which I think we played yesterday, or am I misremembering things? You can have 5s on Dutch whisper lines. So you can do really cheeky things like having a 5 in here and then a 1 and a 9. So it's not necessarily the case that you're oscillating between low digits and high digits. That is clearly broken by the presence of the 5, which is allowed on Dutch whisper lines. They can be 4 apart from other digits. Numbers may repeat on red lines if allowed by other rules. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. We also have KROPKI pairs. So numbers with a white dot between them are consecutive. If that was a 2, for example, that could be 1 or 3. That is clearly consecutive with the digit 2. And not all dots are given. So the fact that this could be a 2 and this is a 1 or even a 3, there's nothing wrong with that. Just the absence of a white dot doesn't mean that they cannot be consecutive. Cells with a gray square contain an even number. That's fairly self-explanatory. So these 4 gray squares can only be even digits. One thing that's unusual there that Will is describing in the rule sets, all the numbers on the gray squares are actually different from one another. So we've got an even digit and a different even digit between each of these 4 cells. So looking forward to see what that means. Numbers on the 4 straight blue lines in box 5 each sum to 15. So these 3 cells that have a blue line connected to them is 15, or sums up to 15. If that was a 2, I'd need 2 digits that sum up to 13. That could be 6 and 7. But the same is true for these cells, and these cells. Now, something that I remember in a previous puzzle that had very similar rule set, is I confused this structure with a magic square. And don't do that, because a magic square requires all columns to be adding up to 15, but nothing in the rule set today says that these 3 cells have to add up to 15, or in fact, these 3 cells would have to add up to 15. So it's not as restricted as magic squares may have to be. Right, only thing left to do is to wish you good luck. I mean, it looks lovely. It is a 1-star difficulty puzzle, but it looks like I'm not even spotting how to break in, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of thinking. So good luck to you too as well. And good luck to me as well. I should say, link will be in the description down below as usual if you want to play along. And good luck to me now as I restart the clock and see how on earth I'm going to solve this one. So temptations, I'll tell you I'll speak that out loud. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do yet. Temptations would be to maybe color the Dutch whisper lines as low, high digits, because we've got these 7s that I know cannot be surrounded by 5s. They can only be surrounded by low digits. In fact, looking at this 7, the only low digits that are allowed in these two cells are 1 and 3. 4 is too close, and 2 is already written. So it's very tempting to do that, but I don't know how useful that would be. That's another 1, 3. But not as easy to do as you can see with this 1, because I can have a 5, a neutral digit. I can't have it in here though, so it is actually useful. If I put a 5 in here, the only two digits that can actually be adjacent to a 5 on a Dutch whisper line is 1 and 9. They're the only two digits from the Sudoku rule set that can actually be 4 or more apart from a 5. So if I put a 5 at a junction with 3 cells, that would break the puzzle. So I am confident that this is a high digit. It is 6, 7, or 9. It is not a 5, but this could be a 5. So I can't really pencil mark that. It'll be 5, 6, 7, and 9. It's just ridiculous at that point. And then this 7, very similar to these 7s, just not as useful because it's not in the middle. This is 1 or 3. So I'm not going to go down the route of high-lows. The other thing that I was thinking about is these being even means these digits, because they are consecutive, and you can't have two even digits that are consecutive, must be odd. And then these digits, which are consecutive to the odd digits, must be even. So I'm sort of half tempted, and I stress that, I can't stress that enough, half tempted to go with even odd, but I'm not even sure I want to do that either. What I am tempted to do though is, we do know that these are from 2, 4, 6, and 8. Let's go ahead and use that. They don't see any digits, so that's not very useful. These are also from 2, 4, 6, and 8. We established even, odd, even. This cell in particular sees both 2 and 8, so this is limited to 4, 6, which limits it to 3, 5, 7, which allows us any of these digits, so not entirely helpful. And it's not low or high on the Dutch whisper, so again, not entirely helpful. We've got something similar in here in that this is 2, 4, 6, or 8. This is going to be an odd, well, don't know yet. 2, 4, 6, or 8. This can't be a 7. This could be 1, 3, 5, or 9, so I'm sure I can reach any of these digits. Yeah, it is 2, 4, 6, 8. That's not a 6. That's not a 2. That's more helpful again. And that's 4, 8. That can be 3. That can be 5. It can't be 7. But it could be 9. So the 8 is actually quite restricted in that it can only be a 9 and then back down to an 8. I don't know how useful that will be, but maybe. And so far, what I'm really doing is just blasting away, pencil marking without any real strategy. I'm not sure that's the right way to go about it. I almost want to reword that. I'm pretty sure that is the wrong way to go about doing it. So let's just have a think around what is Will telling us to do. So the only thing that I haven't really looked at is the 15 in square 5. Now, if you've seen my magic square tutorial, and I know in the rule set I said, don't think about this being a magic square, but just humor me for a second. Now, the way that I sort of proved that there has to be a 5 in the middle in that tutorial is essentially I looked at all of the different digits that can be in the middle that can have neighbors, or in fact, specifically 4 sets of neighbors, because you've got one set here, let's call them blue, another set here, call them purple, another set here, call them green, and another set here, call them yellow. So you've got 4 sets plus the digit in the middle that need to add up to 15. Now, I exhaustively went through that whole list, and let's go with 4 for a second. 4 would leave a remainder of 11. Now, there are 4 ways, which is what we need, purple, blue, green, yellow, of getting to 11 to make sure that these diagonals, columns, etc. add up to 15. But I think once you place the 4, I take away one of them. So the sets would be 2, 9, 3, 8, and then 5, 6, because I've taken away the 4, 7. So 4 doesn't work. It's the same is true with 6. I would need to get to 9 in 4 different ways, which is possible normally. 1, 8, 2, 7. 3, 6 is gone, so not available. and then the last option will be 4, 5. So I'm fairly sure that 5 is the only possible digit, and it is the first one. Goodness me, 5 minutes in. Now, all of these have to add up to 10, all of these pairs, and obviously there is 4 ways of doing it. 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6. So I'm, again, sort of tempted to go back to low and high digits. So I'm going to lose these colors for a second and come back to it. 7, though, you can see now is restricted to one of these 3 cells, which would make its partner that adds up to 10 in one of these 3 cells. And we're kind of maybe having to think about this Dutch whisper line, because that's the only digit that is, it doesn't really help me. It's just whether I'm able to prove that 7 is discounted from here. It reduces the number of cells that the 7 can be at. Not very useful, but I'm not really spotting where else to take this. Here is something though. Once we put a 5 in the middle, so you see I've pencil marked these, but I didn't take it any further because, again, with 1 in the middle, if this was a 1, I could have always placed a 5 in here. And therefore I don't know if it's oscillating indeed low, high, low. But 5 is not available for this cell. So I know for certain that this is a high digit. And it is not 7, it is from 6, 8, or 9. And then we're back to, because the 5 again is not available, a definite low cell. So this is definitely not 7. And it's not 1, it is from 2, 3, and 4. Which means, and because 7 cannot be here, it's not even 3, it's actually just 2, 4. And this is 6, 8. So this is probably the way to think about this. Less useful to carry on pencil marking here, but 2 and 4 requires a high digit. I can't put a 5 in here. So the only high digit that we have available from all of the options is the 9. That's a 9, which gives us 2 8s, which gives me a 4 here. Yeah, this is going to go. This is not 9 either. This is a 6. That can't be a 4 anymore. It's too close to the 6. That's a 2. That can't be a 3. That's a 1. Between 1 and 9, you can clearly see we need to change polarity. That's got to be a 5. No other option available. And yeah, we've got suddenly tons of digits. Now, before I forget to do so, I'm going to remove now 8 as an option from all of these cells. And as a result, because it can't be an 8 in these remaining squares, 9 is no longer an option. In fact, this is now forced. This can only be a 5 because I've already placed a 3 in here. 5 removes 2 as an option. So this is starting to get very interesting. It's a very clever puzzle, once again, from willpower. Yeah, not too sure about this. I am sure about this setup, so I really should have colored this low-high, now thinking about it. This has to be a high digit. Can't be a 5, even if this is a 1. It is not 7. So this is from, again, 6, 8, and 9. And again, because this can't be a 5, this has to be a low digit, which is next to a 1. That can only be a 1. That can only be a 9. We're really sort of squeezing this down. In fact, I've got the rest of it. Because 6 is in neither of these cells, that means the 4, 6 pair can only be in here. And this is the 3, 7 pair, but it's forced because the 7 is looking at this cell. So that's 3, that's 7. Is the 4 and 6 resolved? No, it isn't. Never matter. Right. This is useful because that's a 6 gone. This is now a 5. And it must be a high digit because it's not a 5. No, it can't be a 5 because obviously we've got a 5 next to it. So we need a high digit that is adjacent to 5 and then can be adjacent to either the 1 or 3. Yeah, because a double 1 here is not available. So that's a 9. Therefore, that's an 8. And this could be either 1 or 3. It doesn't actually help us necessarily. That 1 is looking over here. That's got to be a 3 now. That's got to be a high digit that is not 7 or 8. 6 is too close. It's only 3 away. That has to be a 9 again. That can't be a 5. Helpful. This is a low digit that is not 4. and not 3. So it is 1, 2. That 9 requires a low digit. It can be a 5, unfortunately, in here. That's not a 7. That's the only restriction I've got. And I think it has to be a 5. And the reason I'm saying that is I need to have either a low digit, like 1, 2, 3, or 4, or specifically 1 and 4, because 2 and 3 are looking at it, or 5. Now, which one of these digits can be a neighbor to 3 or 5? And the answer is this has to be a 5 and this has to be a 1. No other combination will work. Removes a 2 as an option from here like we did in there. That forces a 2 in here. I don't really know what these 4 6s are. I do know that this is a 2. Don't know what this 1 3 is though. Right, this is fairly restricted now. This is 1 or 3. This can only be 2 or 4 connecting to that 1 3. I don't actually know what that is. 1 3 looking at this cell, still don't know what that is. This 4 6 still not resolved really. So I think at this point I've basically done almost, I haven't done this Dutch whisper paddle fan blade, whatever shape you want to call it. So that's probably what's next. That's an 8. That has to be a low digit. It is not 1 or 3 or 2. It can only be a 4, which gives me the 6 over here. Not the critical gray cells, so it doesn't actually tell me anything about these digits or that digit, so ignore. 4 can only be next to a 9 from that list that's available up there. That's a low digit, whatever it may be, and I think it will force yet another 5. Thinking about it, yeah, because I need something that is 5 or lower that is next to these low digits. And that's got to be a 5, that's got to be a 1 again, therefore that's got to be a 2. That's got to be a 3, that's got to be a 1. Still not resolved what these are. But what a phenomenal set of rules to get us this far. Yeah, I am regretting not having sort of colored this low and high. I think it would have showed off the beauty of this puzzle a lot better. But too late. Right, 7. What is this now? I don't actually know. 3, yeah. Kind of really failing the scan there. We need 8 and 2. That 8 gives me an order. That's an 8. That's a 2. We've got more things that are reasonably complete, such as I need a second 4 6 and a 5. And I need a second 4 6 and a 5. Very ironic. I don't actually know which one is which. How am I meant to resolve these? I'm guessing the 5... I'm guessing, yeah. Right, so this is not a 5. I should be able to write this in, I assume. It's got to be a high digit that is not 8, 9, or 6, and it's not a 5. It is, in fact, a 7. Maybe this will help me in a bit. What do we have in these 2 cells? We need 4 and 5, I'm going to say. That's a 5. Excuse me, that's a 4. That has to be more of these 4 6s appearing everywhere. At some point I may have to color them. I can see that these 6s are forcing a 6 in one of these 2 corners. I say corners, these 2 cells. Yeah, really slowing down now. Although to be fair, it was a slow start as well. Because I've got to sort of try and break away my eyesight from these, which is kind of inevitably where I keep looking, because I do actually have something that's probably reasonably useful, such as, what is this? This is 5 and 8, and that 5 tells me that the 5 has got to be up here. I can find 5 on the keyboard, and that's got to be an 8. I've done these 2 columns. Let's do these 3 rows, 3 cells in these rows. What do I know? What do I need? I need a 3. 3 clearly is not in these cells. Let's just write that in. And that looks like 4 6 again to me. That magical 4 6 that's somehow going to get resolved at some point. Now at some point, let's do this one. We need 1, 2, 3. We need 4, 6 for a change we don't actually need. So this is probably where it's going to we're going to get our break. Then I need an 8, and it's not in these 2 cells. That's the 8. And then a 9, which can't be in here. That's the 9. That's the 4. That's the break we need. That's 6. That's 4, 6, 4, not 6, 6. Now we need 4 and 5 in here. That 4 tells me the order. That's 4, that's 5. That's got to be 6. That's got to be 5, presumably, yeah. We need a 1 and 3. 3 tells me that's the 3, that's the 1. I probably can do all of these. I need 1, 2, which is none of these, that's 2, and 7. And that 1 is now restricted down here, and that's 7. Right, these 3 cells next. It's clearly a bit of a pattern here. What do I need? I need 7, 8, and 9. 8, none of these. 7 and 9, 9, 7. This last 3 corner in here. I must have resolved these by now. Have I not? I haven't. I'll take a look at that in a second. That's quite interesting. Right, we need 1, 9, and 2. Well, the 1 is in none of these cells because of this one. That's the 1. That 9 is now down here. That's a 2. May as well finish all of these. I can just write some in some of these digits. If I can scan a bit quicker today than I am for some reason. Then I have 4 and 9. And that 9 will help us finish this entire puzzle. What another joyful puzzle. We need 3 and 7. That's the 7. And then if I've not made any other mistakes, 3 and a solution to today's puzzle. Phenomenal puzzle once again, Will. Now, this is probably where some of you can just pause the video, stop it if you needed to actually watch it. And I'm just now very curious about the symmetry of this puzzle. So if I highlight the 5s, I think the 5s are rotationally symmetrical. The 4s and 6s, possibly 4 maps onto 6 here, 4 and 6, 4 with a 6, 4 with a 6, yeah, 4 and 6. No, this 4 doesn't. So that's strange. I really used to think, and it's maybe something that I need to explore and maybe do in a different video, that once you get to a certain threshold of rotational symmetry, it sort of forces all of it to be rotationally symmetrical, and it clearly isn't the case here, especially for the fact that the 4 is only partially rotationally symmetrical, which I really didn't see coming. I thought it is either going to be yes or just a firm no. So I'll do this offline rather than bore you guys with the details, and maybe talk about it in a different video. Hope that you enjoyed the puzzle. I certainly have, and the video. And I'll see you back for the next one. Bye-bye for now.